Good afternoon. Again, thank you for being here. I want to start by saying we were just here. We were just here yesterday. We were just here talking about a horrific series of crimes that occurred. A tragic murder, a senseless shooting, and other property crimes that were taking place by a group of individuals that needed to be stopped. We were very concerned, and that's why we shared this information. The community needed to know that these individuals were out and they appeared to be willing to do very violent acts. I also shared with you a plea to the community to help us, as well as the efforts of the Denver Police Department, as well as our local partners and our federal partners in working to get these individuals off the street as quickly as possible in order to keep our community safe. Well, today I share that as a result of this work, this teamwork, this collaboration, again, in partnership with our federal partners and other local jurisdiction, that we have identified, that we have located, and that we have arrested 4 of the 5 individuals that we believe are responsible for this horrific series of crimes. Right now, one of the suspects is at large. We are actively working with our partners in order to get this individual in custody. This crime spree was appalling, and the murder of a student at Yeshiva Toras Chaim sent shockwaves through the Orthodox Jewish community. Not only here in Denver and the state of Colorado, but the United States and the world. We again share our condolences with the Silverberg family and the school. Yeshiva is special to us. I was there at the grand opening. I've spoken to these kids before, and we want nothing more than for them to go about their studies in a safe way. While we have made significant progress in this investigation, we are continuing to develop this case and present it to the Denver District Attorney's Office. This is where the community can continue to help us. We encourage anyone with information, photos, videos, to share with us so we can strengthen this case. Please share any and all information with Crime Stoppers, 720-913-STOP. You can remain anonymous and also earn a reward. Now I'd like to introduce Commander Matt Clark from the Major Crimes Division. His team, again, with our local partners and federal partners, they have not rested. Since this crime occurred, they have worked to bring justice to these individuals, to these community members, to these folks that have been hurt by this group, and they'll continue to work in order to help us keep our community safe. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Clark. I'm the commander of the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. Thank you for being here as we announce the arrest of 4 individuals who were involved in the violent crime spree that started around 10 p.m. on Tuesday, August 17th. To start off, I'm extremely proud of the investigative work and the collaboration that went into this investigation. The identification and apprehension of the 4 offenders we are discussing today is a direct result of the impressive investigative work that was done by the members of the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division, our Strategic Investigations Bureau, and our Special Operations Division. We were also supported heavily with resources from the Denver District Attorney's Office, the ATF, the FBI, and the Rocky Mountain Safe Streets Task Force. Without that collaboration, we would not be announcing these arrests today. Yesterday, I detailed 5 offenses that we believed were linked as part of this crime series involving the same offenders. During the course of the investigation over the past day, we've linked an additional business burglary to these individuals, and I'll provide additional information on that. To provide a brief overview and chronology of the offenses that occurred, it started on Tuesday, August 17th, at about 10 p.m. in the 2700 block of West Alameda where the group committed an attempted auto theft and a felony menacing where they pointed a handgun at an individual. At about 10:50 in the area of Colfax Avenue and Grape Street, there was a carjacking. A vehicle was taken at gunpoint, and that was the Honda CR-V. At about 11 o'clock, there was a business burglary in the 1300 block of East Colfax Avenue, and that's the new crime that we discovered through this investigation. At 11:10 p.m. in the area of Colfax and Lafayette, there was a robbery where an individual was shot. At 11:35 in the 1500 block of North Stewart at Yeshiva Torres Haim was the homicide incident involving our 18-year-old victim. And then at 12:30 in the 1000 block of South Union Boulevard in Lakewood, we had a business burglary with an auto theft at that location. Last night, through the tremendous investigative work, it was determined that the offenders involved in these offenses were at two separate residential locations. This included a residence in the 3200 block of West Oxford Avenue in the city of Sheridan, as well as a house in the 1300 block of South Umatilla Street in Denver. Investigators with our fugitive unit conducted extensive surveillance throughout the day and gathered valuable evidence to confirm the presence of these offenders at those locations. Tactical plans were developed, and individuals at each location were taken into custody safely and without incident by members of the Denver and the Arapahoe County SWAT teams. Investigators arrested 4 individuals. They've been identified as 18-year-old Isaiah Freeman, 20-year-old Seth Larhode, 19-year-old Noah Lope-Hall, and 18-year-old Aiden Sides. These names and each offender's birth dates are contained in the press release if you need additional. They're currently being held for investigation of first-degree murder, first-degree assault, attempted first-degree assault, aggravated robbery, felony menacing, first and second-degree burglary, and aggravated motor vehicle theft. The case against each of these individuals will be presented to the Denver District Attorney's Office next week, and the District Attorney will make the final determination on the charges. Through the investigation, detectives have confirmed the identification of a 5th individual who was involved in each of these offenses that were previously detailed. An arrest warrant has been issued for 19-year-old Samuel Fussell, Fussell. His date of birth is October 22nd of 2002, and the arrest warrant was for the same charges that were detailed. The Denver Police Department's fugitive unit is actively working to locate and apprehend Mr. Fussell. During the multiple surveillance operations that were conducted throughout the night, investigators located and recovered 2 of the 3 vehicles involved in these incidents. At this point, we've recovered the maroon Honda CR-V and the blue Toyota Camry. The CR-V was recovered in the 1200 block of South Tejon, and the Toyota Camry was recovered in Aurora. We are still looking for that 1998 gray Toyota RAV4. The individual who was shot and injured at Colfax and Lafayette is in critical condition. He remains hospitalized, but he is expected to survive from his injuries. I think the important question to address on everyone's mind is the motivation for the series of senseless and violent events that occurred on Tuesday night. From the beginning, investigators have recognized the potential for a biased motivation based upon Mr. Silverberg's religion. We also recognize that this incident happened at a religious school and knew there'd be significant concern locally and nationally about this event. Potential bias motivation has been considered throughout the investigation of this incident. This has been examined by our investigators and our federal partners. At this point, after examining the evidence, to include the series of offenses that were seemingly randomly committed, the random victimization that occurred, the close time frame of these events, I do not believe there is a biased motivation to this series. This is further supported by the statements made by the offenders who agreed to be interviewed last night and early this morning. At this point, no one has made mention of the victim's religion or offered any information indicating they were targeting the school or the Jewish community. While I cannot comprehend it, the best explanation we have at this point is that this group of offenders went out and randomly assaulted, robbed, stole from, shot, and ultimately killed an individual that evening. We, the Denver Police Department, would not shy away from charging an individual with a bias-motivated offense if we believed we could meet the statutory elements for that offense. The Colorado Revised Statutes requires that we be able to prove that the crime was committed with the intent to intimidate, harass, injure an individual based on their perceived religion. Certainly, if additional information is developed during our investigation, we will present that information to the District Attorney's Office for consideration. The detectives in the homicide unit have been working nonstop since the homicide occurred. Additional forensic work and ongoing follow-up investigations will be conducted over the next several weeks. As I conclude, I want to reiterate the tremendous job that the investigative team did during this investigation and the critical support that we received from the federal partners and the Denver District Attorney's Office. Anyone with information related to the offenses that I've described or the whereabouts of Mr. Fussell are asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 720-913-STOP. Try and answer any questions. Please recognize we do have a case filing. Our next goal is a successful prosecution at this point. He was shot at outside of the school, and then he went to a different location. The offenders did move to that same similar location. He made it into an interior door inside the school. He was.
Were you aware that one of the offenders, Noah, had cut off his ankle monitor on March 3rd?
I did come to learn that he previously had an ankle monitor on that was cut off.
And were you also aware that Freeman had escaped from a facility in Idaho Springs August 10th?
So I'm going to try and repeat the questions. That's some of the feedback that I've gotten. So your question was about if I'm aware if Mr. Freeman had escaped from a facility where, sir? In Idaho Springs. I am aware that at least one of the offenders had an escape warrant, but I wasn't familiar with the facility that they escaped from.
Is that escape warrant that they tell you August 10th?
I don't know the date of the arrest warrant, sir.
Do you know how all these suspects knew each other, and is it from any association within the Division of Youth Services?
It appears based on their statements that they may have met in a youth correctional facility. I believe so, sir. The facility was Lookout Mountain.
Chief, I have a question for you. These are obviously totally different cases, but a lot of people are going to look at the level of violence and very, very young adults and associate this with last summer's house fire in Green Valley Ranch. I'm just wondering if you've had any conversations within the department of this extreme level of violence that we are seeing from some very young people.
Actually, I appreciate you asking the question. You're exactly right. We have this conversation every day. This is our concern, that we want everybody in the community to share this same concern. Because what happened on Truckee Street, what happened on Tuesday night, we cannot tolerate in our community. It's not okay. And we need the community's help, just like we need all aspects of the criminal justice system to assist in holding people accountable for their violent crimes. And what happened on Tuesday night is as violent as it gets. These people, these individuals, this group of 5 needs to be in custody for us to keep this city safe. And we all have to work together in order to keep our city safe. And any other questions?
Was there any sense of motive just being that they got stuck?
Again, we want to put as fine of a tip on this as we can. We will continue to investigate. We will continue to gather information. We will continue to look at the evidence, including asking our community to share any information that they have. We don't know the exact motivation other than senseless violence through multiple locations in our city and in the metro area that these individuals, we believe, are responsible for. So we will continue to piece together the motivation behind it. But the fact that we have a group of relatively young individuals that are willing to go on this type of rampage, this type of violent spree in our community is not acceptable. And we as a community need to stand up together and make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. So we'll continue to work towards the motivation behind that. But what I can say is we're safer today than we were yesterday when we talked at this podium. We will not rest until we get the last individual held accountable for this series of crimes. And our team will work with the district attorney's office to make sure that we have a successful prosecution on this. But again, I cannot state it enough. We as a community have to work together in order to keep this city safe.
Do you have a description of that suspect and people should know about it?
I would only be able to read, but go right ahead.
Yeah, we will put together a Crime Stoppers bulletin and issue that shortly after this press conference. So we have a photo, if it's available, and then we'll get the physical description out. So those will be forthcoming. There may be other incidents linked, that these individuals are linked to throughout the metro area that did not occur that night. And we're working with those investigators and letting them shore up their cases if it's appropriate, and then we'll get that mugshot out. Probably tomorrow. Yeah. We have recovered a firearm, a handgun. I'm gonna need some forensic testing to confirm that. Thank you.
Again, thank you for being here. Although we are very thankful, we're very proud of the efforts that our Major Crimes Division, that our investigators, that our federal partners, that our other local law enforcement agencies participated in order to get these individuals off the street. It doesn't take away from the fact that a young man, Mr. Silverberg, is no longer with us. And we would love to celebrate, but we can't. That not only Mr. Silverberg, who was taken from us, but also the individual who's in the hospital, critical condition, fighting for his life, that's where the focus needs to be. So thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Stay safe.